Hey folks, I'm going to show you that in a moment. We're getting back into some more Eberron adventure development for Crystals of Mabar, which is going to be publishing on the DMsGuild as soon as we get this thing done. Strap in, because there's a lot of art assets that we're building. This is kind of a development art stream where I do the development and production of RPG PDFs. Check my signal. Cool. All right, great. So, hey, if you follow me on Twitter, I've just posted that I'm live on Twitter. So if you want to catch updates and see what I'm up to in the future, follow me on Twitter at Theurgy. Like and subscribe, hit the bell, because we do long-form design here. Like I was saying, I build RPGs, and hold on real quick. I'm boosting my signal across the Discords for all that I love can witness the grandeur of completion today. We make PDFs. So I design a 5e supplement. I then hire a either I write it on my own, or I hire a crew to help me write it, depending on what kind of a lift it is. Then I hire an editor once the text is done to make it smart good, and then we get it back. We put it into Microsoft Word to do our layouts, and then once that's complete, we export individual pages back into Photoshop so that we can paint directly on the pages. So if you check out my playlists here, there's a stream for Elemental Key, which is one of the martial mana concepts that I created that's available for you to look at on the DMsGuild, and you'll see how I'm exporting pages from Word into Photoshop as PDFs and just painting directly onto the piece. And when the artwork starts to get in the way of the text, then I take the piece back into Microsoft Word and rearrange the words so they can get out of the way of the picture. So it's a layout, illustration, graphic design mix, and then once that's completed, I export it to DMsGuild. You can check in the description down below. There's links to a slew of different DMsGuild books that I've created in the past. That you can read 100%, cover to cover. Anything that I publish, you can always read all of it. Most of these things come with additional assets like character play mats, mana tokens, creature tokens, adventure maps like we're working on today. So check out the work, like, subscribe. If any of the stuff that I build you find yourself intrigued by, or find yourself eventually going back to take a second look at, I would ask that you humbly please make a purchase to support the over 120 illustrations that I have in those links down below for you to view, which we will continue with here. This book cover we created, just zoom in on these guys. These book covers that we created was I think like around episode 43 to 47, something like that. These are different. This is the moon. This is the symbol of Mabar. This is the channel of energy coming from the Nexus, pulling the moon to Eberron as part of the Manifest Zone ritual that the villains are attempting to complete. These are different paths that lead down into the dungeon. If you've been around for a while, Act 2 has a cemetery, which we're working on right now, Flooded Fort, which we already finished, and the topside entrance, which we already finished, leading down into the actual underground laboratory, which we are going to paint next. So these are different paths that characters can take to get into the dungeon to find the Crystal of Mabar and disrupt it so that they can prevent Mabar from co-terminating with the entire planet and destroying the world. So, all for names of profit and power, yo. You know, when Emerald Claws get bored, they tend to scratch. So, yep, here's characters coming down from the cemetery. Here's characters coming down from the Flooded Fort. It's the Flooded Fort's actually flooded, so this is just symbolic. So, anyway, it's going to be it'll probably appear about this size on the DMsGuild, and there's a hidden boss fight that happens depending on how the story plays out. So here is a look at the underground map. It's the top. I mean, all the layout is accurate, but we get to fancy it up. So this is just basically black and white with some color for the different zones. We get the water here, which we know our water techniques now. So we can just cut paste from the flooded fort area here and drop it into this area, and then just propagate that style into the rest of the flooded area. And we have our swirl pools that we know how to do from the cemetery map, so we can blend all these techniques together into this area. And then we have the plague mist region, which is obscuring vision throughout here. It's also in the water area, but it's dry land here, so that's why there's a difference in color. And then we have a clean air environment, which is being provided by these air cleaner systems that they're pedal pump. As long as you keep pedaling the pump, it creates a zone of fresh air with a 20-foot radius. So they put it here, so 5, 10, 15, it blocks this area as long as it maintains. You can either pedal pump it, or you can cast Unseen Servant and have it pedal for you. It's perpetual. It's a perpetual machine. So as long as it keeps pumping, the plague mist stays at bay. So if they quarantine off this area and quarantine off this area, and they can close doors to block off that effect, then soldiers that are stationed down here for sleeping and just living life, they can have a fresh air environment. So at the beginning of their shift, they take the stairway up to the topside entrance, and then they begin patrolling the manifest zone, looking for things like your characters. So we're going to get into this. Today is going to be the last episode that we are streaming the cemetery map, because this dog is damn near done. All I'm going to need to do today, and we're just going to get right into it, is dump some crystals on this thing. So I'm going to click here to make a new layer, and we're going to go down and grab our crystal brush. There it is. Like that, as we do. We're going to go to our crystal reference color. Make sure I get don't know what that was all about. Get down into it. There. Now we're just gonna dirty up these. Oh my god, I really like how these things turned out. That's just so great. Yeah, I'm just gonna dirty these guys up a bit. Use 20, 25 to 40. Just dot some things in. That doesn't feel like this is doing the right thing. Yeah, it's getting too small. So I'm going to boop, boop, boop. So yeah, we're just going to dirty this up with crystals. We're going to put the roof on, and then we're going to dirty the roof up with some crystals. And then yeah, doesn't have to be crazy. Doesn't have to be crazy at all. And when we finish dirtying these up, then we'll put the roof on. We'll then put some crystals on the roof, and then we'll just push some swamp water around. And when we hit the end of our stream time, which will be in 100 minutes, so we have 100 minutes to end. Get out of here, Bixby. Nobody likes you. God, you can't delete Bixby. It's such a pompous move. Screw you, T-Mobile. I mean, Google, whatever. Bixby. I have feelings about Vixby and Cortana and whatever. It feels like the future. Yeah, then we'll work on swirls of water, and this is the last episode that we're going to be. God, I love how that looks. God, this is so great. This is last episode of working on the swamp. It will officially be done. Maybe not today, but there's no. I won't. The only thing that's left is working on some puddles of water. So the next time we stream, which will be maybe Monday night, I might be meeting with Andy. If he's available to work on some post-edit revisions that Stuart had pointed out to us, that will be fun to work on together. We haven't collaborated on a Monday night in a while. That's I started doing art on Monday night because we handed off this Monday night. Sorry, let me backtrack. For a year, Monday nights was a 2 to 3 hour, anywhere from a 1 to 3 hour session, hanging out with Andy, basically writing this adventure. And then walking through the logic of it, what's missing, what we need to do. And then once we started doing playtesting, when the document was like loose, like the manuscript was done, that's when we started the playtesting. And then after the playtests would happen, we'd regroup and look at what worked, what didn't work, what do we need to change. We make the revisions. And then after we had gone through DMing a few sessions, like all the different encounter points, the village points, all of the different maps in Act 2, as well as diving down into the dungeon and running those all for a few scenarios. And after handing it off to DMs to run for their own groups and get feedback from, we've got a solid document that we can then hand off to Stuart for him to start editing. So Andy and I were on hold, and this is the point that we were holding for. So I need to touch base to verify he's available, and if he isn't, sometimes he's available on Thursdays. And so either on Mondays or Thursdays, I'll be working with Andy to do the updates that Stuart has tasked us with. And oh god, I didn't muck these up. Huh. I mucked you guys up, right? Yes, you guys are mucked up right proper. Right, proper mucking over here. But yeah, okay, well, I guess we're going to muck these guys up for a minute. So let's get mucky. Bop, bop, bop. Bop. Let's get into black and white. There we go, yo. Excellent. Yeah, we're just gonna hopefully stitch this up real quick, and then we'll get back into it. But yeah, that holding pad, we're off hold, and now we got some revisions to make. So see if we can connect and knock through that stuff, and then hand it back to Stuart for him to keep on. So it's a slow process. This is the first time I've made a professional adventure that we're publishing, and there's so many bases that I feel need to be covered. And maybe it's just because it's my first baby, I'm doting over it too much, and I'll relax as an adventure creator in the future. But I don't think that lack of care is causing the adventure to suffer at all. So we're gonna just keep on with what we got right now. But this is super great groundwork for us to have reference in the future for the next adventure that we create, which is probably going to be Temple of the Frozen Heart. And man, I'm excited about that. It turns out that a creator, I can't remember who, but a creator on DMsGuild had actually created a monk, which is Way of the Frozen Heart, that coincidentally uses some similar subclass features to what I had envisioned for the tradition of the Frozen Heart that I was envisioning that I would include with the adventure. But honestly, it might just make sense to bundle that PDF from the DMsGuild with that adventure once it gets created, like in 2026. Jeez, my timelines are ridiculous. But yeah, that guy's good and dirty. We'll move on to this one. Good enough. All right, we'll stitch that back shut and get back to our crystals. Super easy, barely an inconvenience. Man, so yeah. If you check out the 5-color mana spell point bundle that I point to, yeah. What is going? Hold on, I've got some sort of brain break going on here. I don't feel like those pixels are as dark as they should. Oh, that's just because they're so small. That's why. Yeah, there. These look so cool. This stuff is awesome. See, I was talking about this a few sessions ago, how you build brushes to match the natural language of your art. You see how those things just... Here, I'll back it out here so you can see it again up close. Okay, see, we put these crystals in, right? I painted this just a moment ago, right? You watched me do that. Now I'm putting the crystals in, and that's a pretty good match. That's a really good match. See how that's curving through there? And then I bring in the next one, how all these little pieces, they're all just like fitting together. That's what I mean about learning how to use tools and not relying on other people's brush sets. Because the brush sets that people create are using the language of art that they've created for themselves. Like, I don't know if these brushes would be nearly as useful to anyone else that would have them, though I guess I could post them up anyway for people to reference off of. But but you want to learn how to build your own brushes for your own needs. What is your style doing that this type of brush would help expedite or improve on what you're doing. And if you don't understand how you're controlling your brush and what your objectives are and what language you're creating with your style of art, then these brushes aren't properly translating you. If that makes sense? So that's the idea. Anyway, so I'm gonna drop this guy here. See how easy that was? My God, that looks super cool. I am tickled pink with how well this project is turning out. So, bully. Blong, blong. Crypt, that's where we're at. Black, white, color. We can put this on top of the color. So yeah, let's just keep on. Okay, so it's a roof, so that means that the stuff slides off. That means we're not going to have large deposits of dirt, but I do want to play with an idea here real quick of just doing like this little cascadey thing of like, where would grit fall since it's just constantly raining. It's the rainy season here in Karnath. And so there's rivulets of water that are pouring off. So I can have grit accumulate here. And I can do things like this to kind of imply where there's little areas, and I can come through and I can delete this like that. Like really thin it down, but leave it present so that like you can just see that it's there. I might end up doing that on top of all these pedestals as well, like just a thin grit, showing where things are just kind of gravitating toward. I mean, literally gravitating. And I can have like where all these holes are. I can put some grit in there. I can put like grit here and here. That's a good spot. We can dirty that up a bit. So when we erase these shingles, that is the place where this grit would naturally form into. I can even put one down there in the base of that, like that. Here, I like this. I like this. This. I like this. Yeah, we're just going to rem. So we'll do this. We'll do the big roof first, since it's the largest, and knock it out, and then we can start just hitting those shrines. And once we finish this this gritting process, then we'll dive back into the water and finish. And there is no end to the water. There is just giving up, which is something that artists have to just kind of face occasionally. Really like deep works. They aren't finished. You just abandon them at some point. Like, it's like good enough. And this water can just never be perfectly smooth or perfectly ruffly or perfectly swirling or perfectly bubbling at any given point. It's at some point I just gotta say, this guy's done. And that point was probably a week ago. But you know, we're doing a thing. We're building a process. We're enjoying it, and I am ridiculously pleased about this map. So I don't think I've made any missteps so far. It's just, it took a while. But I mean, it is a huge map. And the underground map is 74 inches by 74 inches. This is 52 by 58. That 74 is ridiculously huge, but so much of it's just black space that I don't have to, I can use this language that we also have in the flooded fortress underground tunnel. We can just duplicate that language for ringing for basically coloring in all of that black space, which is just solid stone, which is what this represents. But we have the black and white map currently, which is good to go. And then we can just layer the color on top of it as we do. So that's actually going to pan out really, really well. So we're just going to keep poking at this, get this done here, because I love to pontificate, so don't mind me. Oh man, the smooth jazz is insane, yo. New. This reminds me of being in Dillard's when I was 7 years old as a kid, buying Transformers and Mask toys. Seems like this is the direction that the flow is going towards here. I'll just do this like here. Happy little trail of destruction and Necron. I can see a little necrotic dirt. Maybe it has a little Yugoloth friend over here, hiding out in the brush, waiting to attack. It's your world. Populate it with whatever evil you choose. Maybe there's a ghast. Yugoloths need friends. You have a little friend over here. It's a little ghast, a little hidden ghast, ready to poison any crusading soldiers of the silver flame that stumble by. It's your world. Yeah, we'll just hit this with different little... This seems like a better and better process that we're developing here. It's just a fun little language of grit. Like wherever these holes are, it's just naturally a place. Where the shingles are missing is just a natural place for grit to accumulate. That's why you want to keep your shingles fresh on your own home, right? And if you want to have a quality roof, choose Anderson Roofs, making sure that undead don't dwell within your home since 1845. Not a sponsor, happy to get into a conversation with you though. Anderson Roofs, give me a call. Hey, if you happen to see an Anderson Roofing advertisement spontaneously appear on your YouTube while you are running around after watching this video, please do come back and comment to let me know that I am affecting your algorithms, because that's how we know that YouTube wants you to love me. And if you want YouTube to know that it should know that people want to love me, you can like and subscribe. Watch some of my other videos. Check out my Spelljammers stream. We had been decidedly focused on Eberron in the mornings during our coffee stream during this week, and I'm going to switch gears. I think I'm just going to be flip-flopping back. I was talking about this last week actually, flip-flopping back and forth between Eberron and Spelljammer as my morning focus, and so I want to get back into that. And so on Monday and Thursday night, we'll be working on the underground map this week, on whichever night Andy isn't available for us to connect with. And that's so it'll either be one or two nights this week. I'm not sure which ones though, so I will be absent for a while on one of those evenings because I'm getting work done with my team. But the morning stream for the next week, Monday through Saturday, will be Spelljammer asset production. Probably finish off the creature tokens, do some more ship tokens, work on the Theurgy ambush, Night Spider ambush encounter map to finish that up, and I am working on the post-edit revisions off screen because that stuff is boring, but we're almost done with it. All we're looking for now is like patterns, text patterns, to make sure that they're consistently throughout. Because one of my slops is that I used different language at different portions of the document while I was expressing things, but it's variations on a theme, and it just feels inconsistent. And Adam did a great job in editing all the different variant text patterns that are in the document, because now as I go through them and I see the inconsistency in those patterns, I get to choose from the different language structures that Adam has already presented as proper expression for me to then propagate throughout the rest of the document, so that there is a consistent language throughout everything. Like for example, noticing and detecting are different, are kind of variations of the same word, but they have we were casually using the word notice when referring to like using scry to scan space beyond your normal naked eye visual range. You normally notice things when you make a perception check, but using these magical devices, you're making a perception check through the scry device. So kind of different. So I wanted to make sure that the language there was really crisp. And so he had great grammar layout and structuring for the use of both noticing and detecting things. I just had the opportunity to unify those. Plus, also, we're working on breaking up how weapon and squadron information is presented so it's more procedural. Also following the consistent pattern from melee and ranged weapons, with melee weapons being siege weapons and mounted weapons, and ranged weapons being both siege and mounted weapons as well. So we can break up the mechanics of how weapons work in general, and then how melee ship weapons work, and then how siege ship weapons and mounted ship weapons work, and then through the melee weapons, and then we go to the ranged weapons and we define mechanics for ranged weapons, and then how they affect siege ranged weapons and mounted ranged weapons. And that's your spiel. And then you list all the weapons that we offer in the document among those 4 different options of melee siege, melee mounted, range siege, range mounted. Just list those all out in their individual sections. So while you're learning about the rules, you have them there, but everything's hyperlinked so you can find stuff easily. So anyway, that's that's what we're doing right now. We're starting to stitch the components together so that we can properly do layout. So what I'll do is once that text is finished, I'll kick it back at Adam to see if I messed anything up as far as the language that he described, and he may just be able to just go through and just approve. But he can edit. He can then adjust my edits and approve from there if there was any flaws in the technique that I used. And then we'll be able to pull that thing into layouts and get proper. So I'm thinking that I will have the map and token assets completed by the time the that final round it gets passed to me as true layout production. So probably here towards the end of February I'll be doing layouts, and this is like about 115 page document that we're going to be monstering through Microsoft Word, and that's going to be really, really fun. There. Just get a bigger grit here real quick and just traipse along there. Okay. I don't want to be too big because I'm gonna do that traipse erase once we are done gritting our roof proper. Yeah, I can thin that up. So we'll finish this grit and then we'll thin up the crystal because it's supposed to be just like grit trail, right? Not actual overwhelming. I don't want to confuse it for just normal terrain that characters can travel on, and I want to make it intuitive for the DM. So I mean, we're gonna have a pretty extensive key, like rooftop, like roof, pedestal, whatever. Like all these pedestals are bare because they had bronze statues on them at some point, and they got looted at some point in the past, so they're just not here anymore. But the stone remains where the statues should have been. That puppy has the rips upstairs. Oh, that rip puppy. Dogs are adorable. I don't want to own a dog. I want to be a dog's uncle. I'm cool with that. I like playing with dogs. I don't want to take care of them. I've always taken care of cats, and they're obnoxious. But God, don't put me on a schedule to go walking someplace. I'm busy. All right, so I'm happy with that. So we're going to up our eraser and just sap away some of this, so it's thinner. Nice. All right, cool. Let's do the next one. We'll grit along the edges here, gritting all along. Yeah, like that. Super easy. Barely an inconvenience to do these. Oh, I'm going to actually chain these. I'm going to automate this process and then do the ring around each one of them. And then we'll come back and we'll pepper them, and then we'll come back through and erase them, and then we will go into the water. So we are super close. I may end up going along and putting some grit like this along all these walls on this map as well as the other maps. I had been noticing that it's inconsistent that these horizontal surfaces above, on these pedestals don't have any grit on them, and my gut is telling me I am going to go back through and do that for all my maps. Hey, Hornetico, man. What are you using for your drawing? Oh, wait, you're not Hornetico. You are Heartless Justice. Hi. What am I using? This is Photoshop. And but you could do this in GIMP as well if you have a free GIMP program. And the brush that I'm using, I build custom brushes. This is the brush that I made, and I use a Cintiq, but Huion Art Board does it as well. I just use a cheap Art Pro. I think it's Art Pro 2C. Wacom has an art pen, basically pen app that the Cintiq has with it, but the Intuos is the boring little board. It's a 6x9 that I set in front of my keyboard, and I use my keyboard. I have my computer, I have my monitor. I rest my keyboard on the base of the monitor, and then my Intuos sits underneath the keyboard. So I can have my hands like this. So I'm tapping like this. So this is how I'm using it on the board. I have a Best Buy next door to where I live, so I can go out and grab a replacement if ever breaks in 30 minutes. So, yeah, it's not bad. You are married to a graphic artist. I have access to all the programs. Right on. So yeah, the art pen allows you to use it's the Z-axis. And here, I'll show you guys. Quick tangent here. I've got another hour and 15 some odd minutes, so I can certainly take the tangent here. So in the brush tips shape, here in the shape dynamic, the brush projection feature. See how it's just stable like this, like it's unmoving. But when I turn on the brush projection and I'm using one of these Z-axis aware pens, the art pen, Cintiqs come with them automatically. But you can see that it can spin now, and there's even maybe if I make this smaller a bit here, you'll be able to see it a little bit better. But there's different expressions, so you can spin it around like here, and I can make patterns with it, like that and that, like I've been doing if you've been watching. So the pattern, and it's super easy to make brushes. You just draw a shape, and then you highlight that shape, and then you open a new document with it. You get rid of the background so it's transparent, and then you go to edits, tool brush preferences, convert, color setting, remove presets. No, it's define. Boy, define brush preset. That's what we would do. So it's not highlighted right now because I don't have anything selected. But I'll show you guys building brushes on another stream. But I have a slew of different types of brushes that I've created to generate the textures that I like to use. And most of this stuff, this is actually a bush. A brush I made for bushes when I learned how to paint like Bob Ross, that I can build little patterns like this. And when you back away from it, if you leave it like that, it has like this like flowery sort of brambly branch look to it. But we're repurposing it right now to look like gritty, like gritty soil that's accumulating on these roofs. So. And then we can spin our brush around to tap at the grit at different angles to create a sort of randoming effect. So, but the actual resolution here that we're looking at on a grid, when we drop our here, I'll get rid of the color for y'all real quick. Get rid of the color. Here's your black. And if I get rid of the roofs, hide the roofs. Here's the black and white texture, and on a 1-inch grid map. Then each square is an inch. This is a 52-inch by 58-inch map, which we can then break up into. You can use a legal sheet 11 by 17 page. These are 10 inches. This is 10 inches tall and 14 inches long. So with a ½ inch margin on each 11 by 17 page, you can print out this map in 24 super low ink usage. Like if you use a laser printer, this is super lo-fi and easy for you to do. Just feed in 20 pages of 11 by 17 and then pop, 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 pop. These will all be in a zip folder with the adventure when we publish it on DMsGuild. But otherwise, it goes with, I use Virtual Tabletop on Roll20. And this is the resolution of this map is 100 dpi, which when we export it to Roll20, it's going to be 70 dpi, which is the alignment to have for your maps on the Virtual Tabletop space, which uses vector imaging. So these lines that we're looking at, this is a 100 pixel square, and each line is 2 pixels, one line, and then you have 98 inches worth of. My program just locked up, so I have to shut it down and launch it again here real quick. But you'll see in a moment what I'm talking about. I think I may have just screwed up because I think I just dropped some unwanted pixels. Oh, no, I didn't. Yay, salvation. So, right, if we zoom into one of these 100 pixel maps, you've got these pixels. So you've got 1 pixel, you got 98 pixels worth of whatever, and then you got 1 pixel. That's how you define your square. And then you can just tile all those 100 pixel squares to create a grid. And when you, at 100 dpi, if you compress it down to 70 dpi and then feed it into a virtual tabletop which uses vector lines to define its map, these compress down into a 1 pixel space which aligns with the vertical line, which aligns with the raster and vector, the vector lines that they create for it. So it aligns perfectly automatically when you drop it into the virtual tabletop. So it's super easy to use. Yep, so that's what we're doing. So we have our grid layer, which we conceal for right now because we're doing the artwork. These are large puddles of polluted, tainted, poisonous water in this graveyard. All of the graves have been opened. It's constantly raining in the forest where this is at. All the soil is being converted to this necrotic crystal substance that just gets on everything. So in the black and white, it's super lo-fi, easy to print, but you can obviously show this, like the DM can show this image to the players, say, this is the kind of environment that you're in. I recommend, I always use virtual tabletop for my table because a lot of times I'm playing with people in Germany and I'm in Seattle. So, yeah, but this is all in the adventure that we're creating, and all these assets will be in the zip file when people make the purchase. They get all the maps, and we're creating tokens for all the creatures that are running around in this map and all the other maps that we're creating for the total adventure. So. It's actually in a Mabar manifest zone in Karnath. It's in the Carnwood, which is the northern forest, which is regions of it are haunted by Eidolon, which are hostile fae spirits that tend to get angry at creatures that hang out in their forest. But this is at a location so far east of where the Eidolons have rulership that they can get away with this, but there's different manifest zones in Eberron, obviously, and Karnath is famous for Mabar, which is the realm of undeath and darkness. These crystals are terraforming the Carnwood into Mabarite terrain. So there's this poison cloud that gets released from the nexus of the manifest zone that is continuing to expand. And as the necromancers that are performing this ritual continue pumping energy into it, it can continue to expand to a larger space. And they're doing that specifically to terraform the soil of this forest that no one generally goes into because of the Eidolon. They're trying to convert this place into a Mabarite zone so that they can harvest all these crystals that are growing on the ground. Because if you grind them up and mix them with a little bit of blood, they become an arcane casting component that you can use to create necromancy and darkness rituals, or to use as material components in your spell pouch. You can just have a fistful of these crystals, and they just turn to ash when you cast the spell. So they're incredibly valuable. But anything dead here comes to life and attacks stuff. And in this case, the adventure hook is that the undead problem had become so rampant that it has started to spread out into the Carnwood, and all the refugees that have been displaced as a result of the last war are starting these off-the-grid villages along the edge of the Carnwood because no one likes the Carnwood because of the Eidolon threat. So it's a low risk as long as we stay far enough away and don't cause trouble. If we stay along the edge of the forest, we shouldn't have a problem. Well, now there's a problem, and that's how your characters get engaged in all this. There's like 6 different plot hooks that we have in the adventure, depending on what faction is interested in the resources here. Like Ader Academy is incredibly interested in this area because they study Mabar manifest zones and necromancy in general as a war college. The 12 are interested because of the profit margins they can pull from it. The gatekeepers are interested because the necromancer is artificially creating a manifest zone out of orbit, so it's screwing up it's starting to mess with the moons, and so they need this thing shut down. So they're going to send in a kill team to clean it up, like a wet works team. Same thing. The Church of the Silver Flame has seers and visionaries that can sense when evil is manifesting, and this is like a major blip on their radar. So they're willing to invest in a plane shift to kick a team of basically of SWAT soldiers to jump into the manifest zone, find out who's cantankering with this place, and end the problem. So you have all these different hooks, and like one of the hooks is like you've got family in this village, and they offer you to come here to lay low for a while after your last adventure. It's an 8th level adventure. So from level 1 to 7, whatever shenanigans your team accumulates, at 7th or 8th level, you've got a letter that comes to one of the characters that says, hey, we're settling in this new town. If you guys need to lay low, or if you're looking for some tracts of land, we've got stuff for you. And when they get here, like, crap, what's up with all this undead? And they're like, we need heroes. Like, fine, we'll do it. And then as a result of it, you get plots of land, or if you can clear out the lab, you can take control of it for yourself. All sorts of cool stuff. All I can imagine is a group of druids and shifter. Exactly. It is, yeah, super cool. And they give you a token. It's a trinket, and if you throw it into the nexus of the manifest zone, it unfurls into a gate seal, a 2-ton block covered in runes that lock and then disperse the magic of any manifest zone that is thrown into. So they give it to you basically as a kill grenade. All you got to do is get to the nexus, but you have to fight all the shit that's keeping you from getting there. The mercenaries that are patrolling the area, the random undead. At some point, it's going to start kicking out demons because it gets strong enough. There's the necromancers themselves and all of their minions. So there's a fleet of bad news between you finding out about this and actually being able to do something about it. So you can run it as a one-shot by being directly plane shifted into the underground laboratory, and it becomes a one-shot dungeon crawl. Or if you integrate it into a larger campaign, there's a good 40 hours worth of content from beginning to end if you run everything. And there's opportunities for you to take short and long rests, to secure zones for you to be able to create safe places for you. There's also additional optional encounters that can be added in that give you additional narrative elements so that you can integrate your character into this adventure to expand on the setting. Like one of the hooks is outriding sheriffs that have a Talenta problem from all the halflings encroaching into the Southlands because of the distraction of the last war. It's become a region that halflings can freely, hunt inside. So as people are starting to disperse from the war and trying to set up new farmland, they're having a halfling problem and a dinosaur problem. So there's outriding sheriffs on horse that go out to deal with these issues. And so when a random village that shouldn't technically even exist is talking about villagers going missing along the Carnwood, he's like, these guys are technically off the grid, so I care about them, but I don't actually want to do any paperwork about it. So I'm going to hire some sheriffs to go check it out. And you have the authority with this badge that you're given as part of the plot hook to be able to ask anyone anything. So when you encounter the mercenaries, they're all expats. So when you go into this manifest zone and you show them a badge, a lot of them are going to be thinking, wait a second, if I ditch this necromancer thing and fighting undead and trying to protect this area, and I switch teams and start working for the sheriffs, I might actually be able to get a legitimate mercenary job, like with government backing. So you can actually build allies against the necromancers that hired them to use them against them if your team needs that leverage. So it's like super adaptable and a lot of fun stuff here that you can just build off of as a resource. Anyway, that's how I think. That's how I run dungeons. That's how I run my games. Like thinking about that like resource and gaining influence over organizations. And so we naturally had to incorporate that into this adventure. So if you can tell, I'm pretty excited about it. So it's designed to cap above to cap before you hit level 9. Because once you start getting 5th level spells, there's divination and mobility magic starts to get a little bit too accessible to the characters to be able to have like the threat that this is to be something that the characters have to deal with more directly. But if they're 8th level when they come into it and they hit 9th level, they could potentially now have an arcane laboratory that's a bunker that they can use as a fortress if they're willing to maintain it and deal with the threats. Like the Eidolons will eventually start taking notice of what's going on over here and start asking questions with a knife that your character's going to have to deal with. But that's an expansion, like what to do, concluding the adventure. What's your next steps? Like, well, if you think this place is cool, you can try to defend it for yourself, and that becomes a focal point for your campaign. Or if you're working with the sheriff can now line up a number of next gigs. Maybe you need to go fight halflings in the Thunta Plains, that sort of thing. So, plus any current Eberron game will need something to GMDO after I finish running the original adventure. Awesome, that's awesome. Eberron is my favorite. I've been playing Eberron since 2006. I played it all throughout 3rd edition, 3.5. I also, when 4th edition came out, I was one of those grognards that didn't really like 4th edition, so I just switched to Cypher system instead and played Eberron in Cypher for a good year and a half. And then when 5e came out, we eventually just dived into 5e and started running Eberron there. And I actually run a space opera campaign using old hacked Spelljammer mechanics that I came up with in 3rd edition. But now that Spelljammer came out, I've been working on the other production stream that I have on my channel. Like and subscribe, man, because I do this every day. But next week on my morning coffee streams, I'm going to be working on Spelljammer ship tokens, and I have a 115-page book that adds all of the missing physics and space like space warfare, fighter ships, squadron combat. Talking about like exactly when does an object switch from having spherical gravity to plane gravity like the Spelljammer ships have. Like we go through a shitload of content details like that, like just basic mechanics to make a campaign work. And then we convert the Light of Zaraxus to those mechanics in a 30-page basically conversion guide at the back end as an appendix. So it's but all my work, if you check my link in the description down below to the DMsGuild link that I have, all my books are 100% preview. So generally, what I generally find, and I've talked about this before, but when I was growing up in the 80s playing 2nd edition D&D, I would hang out in the bookstore and read a book cover to cover on the bookshelf, and the manager was cool with it. I'd hang out with a Pepsi over in the kids section, just grab a seat, and just read through the book because I wanted to get out of the house. My sister was going to the mall. I could just hang out at B. Dalton's or Walden Books for a couple hours. And management and all the clerks were cool with it. And because after 2 or 3 weeks of lawnmower money, I'd come in and I'd buy a book for $12 because they used to cost $12. Like a 160-page book was $12 back then. So, it was, I wanted to pay it forward. I was given the opportunity, when I was a kid and I didn't have shit for cash, I was given the opportunity to just absorb this information because the ethics of the community that I was in those bookstores was you're going to come back and you're going to buy these books. So why don't we just get you addicted to wanting to have them at your table and go ahead and read through them. See how quickly you're going to buy it. I bought shitloads of books from B. Dalton because they let me do that. And I personally believe that if I approach it with that same attitude, there are so many kids that are playing D&D now that don't legitimately have cash. Or there's people that are honestly under troubled times. And I sincerely believe that if I give people tools that are going to make their game better, they will eventually come back and support me either with likes and subscribes or buying the books or following me on Patreon. It comes back to me. So if I just continue to treat this as something that I'm building for the teams and make it available for them, of course, like the map assets and stuff, I can put that behind a paywall. You have to buy the book to get all the zip file of stuff, but after a while I can put them on my Patreon as well. So it's trying to do good while also trying to make a business out of it. It's kind of self-serving and pseudo hypocritical. But I'm just, I'm trying to get out of my day job. Retirement's going to fail me. People at my scale, investing into the stock market is fuel for large corporations and rich people to get hedge bets against whatever options you have available. They have more options to leverage your money to get a better deal. So we're giving shit deals. The best way for me to be able to have a sustainable future for myself is to build products that people are going to want to purchase and support my effort. Like I want to get into Kickstarters where I do this entire process on Kickstarter, front to end, like watch the entire thing get built. And that's like kind of part of the Kickstarter. Like support me to do this thing, and I will grind this out on YouTube with you guys and chat like this about whatever the product is. So that's kind of my dream. I want to be a content producer. I want to make games for a living. I've got a great day job. It's union. It's safe. I do good, honorable work. So I'm proud of my profession. But again, it's not mine. It's not mine. And it's like home ownership is a joke now. Yada yada yada. The best thing I can do is try to use my mind to express cool ideas that resonate with people, that appreciate where we're trying to go with this. And I'm only 48, so God's willing, I'll be able to remain functional into retirement age. That by the time I get to 78, and assuming that Social Security still exists here in America, I can use this to supplement my income by just having a 30-year portfolio of different design work, art, map assets, and just have fun. I'm going to retire. Like me and my friends in Germany, we want to retire in a community home where we can just play D&D forever. So I need to have an income that's going to support me being in a community where I can do that. While my I'll keep the Alzheimer's away by trying to keep my sugar count down and keep the insulin out of my brain. Maybe I'll be able to retain my functions and my facilities and be able to do this into my 80s until I'm taken. But we are about done with this rooftop. Yep, I think I can sit here and then these roofs come off. So here's the interior of the buildings. So the roofs are separate tokens. You put the map down, and if it's black and white, there'll be a separate page. You just cut out the roofs, and you just place them on top of it. But on a virtual tabletop, you put the map into the background, and then you can make these rooftops tokens either on the player screen, or I recommend putting them on the map screen. And hold on. There. And so when the players go into a building, like the crypt, for instance, if they go into the crypt, you can just move the word I'm trying to use is move it to the DM's layer so it becomes invisible to them, but you can still vaguely see it with your opacity. But you can just get them out of the way. Like I can just get that building that out. I can just there. I can just get it out of the way so I can see what's inside of there. But then I can just click, put it back into existence when they leave the room. So having tokens for roofs allows you to have. It's like I don't know if you ever played Legacy of the Ancients back in 1991, but they had that's how they did the top, like the villages that your character would move through in this top scroll RPG game. When you would enter a building, the roof would disappear. When you step out of it, the roof would reappear. Super clever. It was just triggered by position. If you were at the doorway, it would disappear, so you can see into the room to decide if you want to. And if you just walk past it, then it would click back into place. And then the next one would disappear as you walk past that. So you could go from room to room to see what was in there. And if there was monsters in there, they may decide to come and chase after you and whatever. But yeah, so we are now done with our crystals inside and out. We're going to go back to work on our water. We still have about a good 40 minutes to play in our puddles. So yeah, the ultimate goal, paid to do the thing. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's okay. Legacy of the Ancients, it was a cool game. Bard's Tale, Legacy of the Ancients, and Ultima. Those were the Bard's Tale. Yeah, did I mention Bard's Tale? Yeah. Those were like the super old, like original dungeon environment RPGs that were like SSI games and Bandai, stuff like that. They're worth Googling or YouTubing just to see them. Because they all use basic D20 type mechanics like armor class and levels and experience points and like swords +1 and stuff like that. But it was super lo-fi, and there is, just listen to grognards like me ramble about that stuff. Kind of builds perspective about how the procedure of dungeon mastering, like actually like processing an adventure from beginning to end, like what steps do you take, was very defined in those video games, those computer games, like with random monsters and stuff coming at you. It was an interesting. There we go. I'm gonna hit save real quick. It's an interesting transition from war game into a narrative space where 5e or 1D&D is undoubtedly heading, moving further away from crunchy hard mechanics to loose, easy die roll resolution if you decide that you want to use a die roll. So 5th edition, or the D20 system in general, as opposed to the old BECMI system, is incredibly good at transitioning between the different pillars of adventure. It's just that Dungeons and Dragons in particular is incredibly hyper focused on combat, as opposed to social or exploration challenges. It could be, if it wanted to have the same mechanical depth for social and exploration and investigation as it does for combat, it would be more like Blades in the Dark, for instance. So it's very hyper-focused on this war simulator background, but 5e hasn't paid any attention to the legacy building, the building command over region and commanding armies and stuff like that. And there's been a number of third-party publishers that have taken stabs at it, and I find that they all generally leave 5e mechanics and introduce a lot of different 4e or their own mechanics. And even Wizards of the Coast with Dragonlance, that spent 2 years creating a board game, which is not 5e, which isn't D20 mechanics at all. Their board game is like, let's stop playing D&D for a couple hours and play this board game to see what our characters in D&D are going to do next. And that just rubs me the wrong way. So I've spent the last year developing mechanics that address that issue. And if you check out the In Command playlist that I have in my description, you'll see the process that we have been, the alpha manuscript that we've been building to create armies, squads, guilds, kingdoms, and a unifying 5e mechanic that basically is being plucked out of the DMG and the player's handbook. All of it's going to see, if you've read the DMG and if you read the player's handbook, everything that are in these books that I create are going to seem familiar, because they're all just using optional rules that Wizards never leaned into. It was like, these are things that you could do with our game if you wanted to. It's like, well, here, hold my beer. Let me build an army mechanic system that can scale out to 100 million miles per day using your own mechanics that are in the DMG. So I'm just taking the tools that Wizards already gave us and respooling them to do all the stuff that you used to be able to do in BECMI, which is different from any other game system that I've seen. Even the most, like, MCDM has the most popular Kingdoms and Warfare system out there right now, but it is not 5e. You never said it was 5e. So I mean, obviously he's got. I'm not disparaging him. I'm just discerning what my preferences are. And my preference is, if I'm playing 5e, regardless of what it is that we're doing in the game, I want to continue playing 5e. BECMI itself had this problem. When they moved out of the dungeon, they didn't have a good overland hex crawl simulation ideas. So they actually had you play Survivor by Avalon Hills. Like, here's a role-playing game that you, or here's a progressive survival game that you can use on a hex map, and if you want to, on a roll of 1 to 6, you encounter a monster, and then you can have your characters fight that monster, and then you go back to your survival game. And like, even from the very beginning of D&D, they never had their own scaling overland system. They eventually, in the companion and master system and expert, they started hacking in rules about like ruling your own kingdom, but it still dwelled inside of this Avalon Hill survival game. So here in 5e, we don't really see anything attempting to use 5e mechanics to unify all these different scaling ideas, and I'm the guy that did it. Not to brag too much, it's not published yet, but I've got a good year worth of content here now of me developing those mechanics, and we've played Descent into Avernus with it, and it works fantastic, which is what created the vehicle rules that we have, and we've translated stuff for the Ravnica campaign. The Spelljammer book came about out of that, which we're now up to like episode 60 something, I think, 50, 40, I don't know how many. Honestly, yeah, 40 some odd for just Spelljammer mechanics specifically, which we've been working on since August. So I sound like I'm bragging, but I'm really just saying all this stuff is going to be 100% free preview for you guys to look at when it's on the DMs Guild. So let me brag, because you can look at it, and if you decide that, yeah, Phil, you know your shit, and this is actually going to improve my game, then buy it. Which is a better deal than anyone else is offering. You know, it's like, here, kickstart my project. If it's any good, your $40 will be worth it. Maybe it'll work out. Oh wait, no, never mind. We're going to rebuild the rules completely different. Do you want to spend another $40 in a Kickstarter to see if that one works out? Mine's going to be like $20. And I'm actually going to be using Descent into Avernus, Dragonlance, Light of Xeraxis to prove that my mechanics work. So like, if you want to run those campaigns, you can use my mechanics to do it and completely change how the campaign runs. It's so cool. But again, this is all you guys can judge for yourself after if you know, at the end of Descent into Avernus, if you want to tip me, you can do so by buying the book. But once these mechanics are in place, there's like on Thursday night in my Spelljammer stream, I have in my playlist, I have Dungeon Dad's conversation about Monster of the Week regarding the Spirit Warrior, and then I very clumsily, I am not good. Once the book is in text, we'll be able to do a page by page walkthrough, and I'll be able to geek out properly. But Dungeon Dad's like, hey, Josiah, he's like, check out this is what the Spirit Warrior is like, and you can add that to your game. It's like, I can add that to our Spelljammer mechanics, like, right the heck now. And he's like, yeah, go for it. So I pinged him about it, but basically ran through the different sections of the book that we've been building, where you can look at like ship sizes, ship damage, ship armor class, ship movement, ship hit points, and then just convert it into the Spirit Warrior. If you don't know what I'm talking about, check the Spelljammer playlist that I have on my channel. The 2 most recent episodes on that playlist is Dungeon Dad's Monster of the Week and me converting it, albeit rambly like this. I tend to ramble, so forgive me. But and I also don't look at my chat screen very much because I'm really blind. I'm missing components in my retina, so I don't see color and I can't see far. So when I read your text, I have to do this. I'll check out your other. Yeah, sure. Okay, great. Thanks. And checking into the stream, I have a few, but for now, hey, great, man, thanks for showing up, dude. It's thanks for letting me rant at you, because I love talking about this stuff. I love playing this stuff, and I think I love talking about it almost as much. So thanks a lot for hanging out, dude. Nice to meet you. Yep, we're just spending the rest of our hour just cleaning up this water. I'm pretty happy with how it is in general. It's a lot smoother over here, I'm noticing. This is a lot choppier, so I'm thinking I want to clean up these lines a bit, and I think I could be a little bit more aggressive about it, panning out a little more. But I like how blurbly this is. But yeah, this is the last day we're on stream on this. There's a little bit of work I can do in these puddles. But otherwise, I mean, this map is good to go as is. Now it's just, am I content with this? Am I willing to let it go? And I mean, so far the answer is no. There's still stuff I want to do here, so I'm still doing it. But we're just padding out our time today, and we'll. Oops, I want to use proper brush. There's maybe 6 more hours of work see, I'm happy with this puddle. I'm happy with this. Actually, I can afford to probably. I'm going to push up that strength like 80, 70. And then I'll drop the opacity to fade that in a little bit. I think that's pretty cool. Arr. Okay, coffee time. Yum. Just like that. I'm gonna scoot that over a little bit. I'm a little off center today. No, nah. That doesn't seem like a realistic place to have a dot. I'm okay with that though. Yeah, I want to avoid having perfect circles. No offense, Maynard, but there's large spaces like this. It should be distorted. Oh, I like that. That's cool. Do some more of that. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Let's kick back over here. This needs work. I need to add some gradients to this. I like the general patterning. Just need a little bit of cleanup. I work the other areas so to such a clean degree. Like, look how clean that is. These are all just so crisp. So I feel like everything needs to be that crisp. This is that crisp. I'm happy with how. Again, you just eventually give up on it. It's not that you're ever done. It's that you just give up on it. I can always add more crispness. I can always add more bubbles, more detail, more. I have to be done at some point. I can't just keep mincing forever. So this is me just doing cleanup just to get these guys to the same level of cleanliness. And then I can layer over it the gradients. Now, this is actually a really good. I wish I had. Of course, I couldn't know. I have to discover it. That's the curse of being alive, is that you don't just immediately get your answers. You have to actually grind it out in real time. Yeah, now that, I mean, after doing, this is our 40th episode on this map. I think I've actually, both on and off screen, I've probably invested 120 hours into this map. And as a result of all that grind, I think I've got a pretty damn strong language on being able to create this kind of watery puddle grit effect. I don't know if I'll ever need again after this adventure, but what it's done is it's helped me develop a process here of understanding, so that I can, like, I create the black and white line art map, right? Well, now with these puddles, I know I can create these geomorphic shapes as flat images, and then I can go back through and I can texture them. And doing that is actually probably a faster process. Like, I can go through here and do like that to clean up that line, just like that. And then use this to fade in. Just keep it nice and clean. And then we'll use another layer on top of this to again add in the gradients. And then we can smooth out the gradients on a separate layer from this, so it has the same smoothness that we have in the other areas. but it's taken us a while to figure out that's the best way to express this type of material. But that's valuable. Considering how much I'm falling in love with doing maps like this, that is a really, really valuable skill to acquire. God, I am legit falling in love with doing maps. I don't know if I'll be able to make a hustle out of it or not. But I like the idea. It'd be a different direction. I've done a lot of character commission over the years, and I've never really been happy with that. And I never get paid the amount that I want by third party, by publishers, for the amount of work that I put into it. But I've seen like Christian Zoich in particular, and Tess on the DMsGuild have just exploded in sales and creating map assets. And I'm wondering if there's enough space in the environment for me to do similar as well. But I'm so addicted to creating content that I don't know if I can just like shift gears into doing map production all the time or not. I'd grow restless over time. So I like the idea of me creating adventures and then creating all the map assets that go with it, and then being able to make the maps hopefully useful independently of the adventure itself. Like I could use this cemetery for multiple ideas, different types of Halloween scenarios and stuff like that we can start punching out in October plus. So I think these maps have replayability. No, wrong button, Gurney. Thank you. I like this song a lot too. Hey, thank you, Timely Timer. Yeah. Looks like my voice is taking a break. This is my last 20-minute block for the day. So this is the last time we're going to be working on this map on screen. But we got, we're still working on these puddles, but I'm going to either Monday or Thursday night. Mondays and Thursday nights for the next couple weeks, we're going to be working on the underground map. And we'll be working in the mornings on the Spelljammer tokens and asteroid map production. Get those things super clean. And you know what? I'm gonna. Oop, we just locked up. I'm gonna save. Close that out. Reopen it. I've got a playtest conference call after this with Derzazad, who is testing the guilds and kingdom system that we developed, which is in a play. We have in the in command playlist that we have on our stream here. There is the mechanics. Me walking through and rambling on about the mechanics involved with kingdoms and guilds, which is it's still under construction. We like the core of it. The core mechanic system of it, the resource system is solid. It's a good system. Now we just have to work out the kinks on how playable it is, and does his team enjoy it? Is it fast and loose enough to make it easy to integrate and fun to use? But is it mechanically deep enough that you can get really nitty gritty with it if you want to? And I think the mechanical depth is there. It's just a matter of, can we properly express it so that people grok and want to make use of it, so it's easy, so it's accessible, so it's easily accessible and inviting for people to make use of, because it really is just a huge game changer in being able to transition from a day of adventure into downtime activities, and making use of resources with organizations to be able to kind of like what Acquisition hinted at, and having these downtime activities that you can assign NPCs to perform for you while you are adventuring, and your team can micromanage a task with their own ability checks and investing adventuring hours into performing it, or they can delegate the activity to allies that they are in command of to perform the tasks, like scouting, research, construction, crafting. These are things that your character can take a direct hand in, or can have an organization or a community performing for them. And Acking did an okay job. I mean, hats off to Chris Perkins. I think this is where he's going with the home base mechanics that they are hinting at will be in 1D&D. I suspect he's just going to drop Acking and directly hard code into the DMG or into Player's Handbook for that stuff. But again, it's not very mechanically deep what they provided there. We go really, I mean, if you know anything about my work and you check the DMsGuild links below, you'll see it, that we go deep and really sussing out like just all the ancillary bits, like all the things you really need to think about if you're going to implement a system like this. Like how do you create your own things? How can you create scaling DC models with different amounts of resources and manpower helping you with it? Instead of hand waving all that stuff, we actually get deep into the weeds, far deeper than anything we've seen 5e be willing to go. And if you want to have some sort of acid test proof of production to confirm that Phil knows what he's talking about when he builds out mechanical systems, check out the color mana spell point variant rules that D&D couldn't figure out how to build, that are available through me on the DMsGuild. And you'll see how you can run 5 color mana for MTG settings like Ravnica, Strixhaven, and Theros. We're going to do a revision of that once 1D&D comes out, so that the five color mana spell point variant rules remains consistent in pattern with the new mechanics that they developed for 1D&D. But you'll still be able to have access to the 5e version of the document through the DMsGuild anyway. So, but yeah, it's thinking things through and having deep mechanical conversations in subsystems is my jam. Is what I love to do, and not to break my arm patting myself on the back, but I'm pretty good at it. It just takes a ton of time. I think my edge over anyone else is how long I'm willing to invest time in making sure everything works together, and that it's a cohesive system that integrates into the larger 5e litany of how the game is ran. So it's just super deep dives into good mechanics that have a specific, that are themed around something. So anyway, ramble on, sing my song. Always working that hustle. Always talking about pick up my stuff, check out my work, get into it. But it's all built to work together. It all curves into each other. Like you can use, like if you take once the Guilds and Kingdoms book comes out and you take command of this facility as your own fortress, we can start feeding you resources. So when that book publishes, I can build like a pay what you want tear out document, and then copy, and then bundle the Guilds and Kingdoms with the Crystals of Mabar for in command of the Necromancy Lab, and then I can provide you with all the resource options that are available if you decide to use this place as a harvest center or as a military structure. Like we can build that, like with like variant mechanics and all this like specifics about like what's here that's unique that we can build out into tasks that your mercenaries can now perform for you. And like, what's the Eidolon threat? Like, make that a thing. How fun. God, just how fun. But like I said, I build my tools to all work as seamlessly as 5e as possible, so that it's easy for you to just, like, 5e is so modular. You can just tear the engine. It's like an old Chevy engine, man. You can completely deconstruct it and rebuild it with new parts or different parts, and turn the key, and it works. That's how good 5e really is. And I honestly, like, I guess Rifts is good like that. I mean, GURPS claims to be that way, but GURPS is, I think, clunky as hell. I've played GURPS. It does not intuitively jive with me. No hate to GURPS fans out there, but you know the system that you like. And I've been running D20 systems since year 2000. So 23 years now we've been on the D20 market, and I've been here since before then. So I've been a big D20 fan since the start. It's a great unifying mechanic system. The D20 plus more is just a really good engine that I don't want to walk away from. I've still got a ton of stuff to do with it, and I want to. All my ideas are inspired by what Wizards of the Coast has produced. So give unto Caesar what is Caesar's. I'm going to build out all these things for use with D&D, and then when I'm done with when I'm done saying what I have to say about it, I will take all the knowledge that I have learned from building all these subsystems and fuse them into a separate RPG that will still, like, maybe it'll be under Black Flag. I'm not sure, but the way that I do, you'll see it in the Spelljammer book. The way that I resolve like different types of D20, like creating results, creating both positive like fail states and success states at the same time while you're rolling dice. It's kind of cool, and I can build an entire RPG around it, so I'm going to. But I gotta finish all these things, because everything that we're building with these adventures and these books is stuff that I want in my own RPG. The scaling systems, the breadth of leadership, commanding, armies, and just having that massive scale. I want that in my own RPG. So when I build my own RPG, you'll be able to use the system that I built through DTRPG or wherever. But if you want strict D&D, you can use all these mechanics using the one D&D mechanic system. Click here on DMsGuild, and then I can bounce back and forth between two of them and lean into one over the other. So I'm excited about that. I'm really, really excited about all of this. I think it's a good path for the kind of creating that I want to do to be able to move forward with. And again, if it resonates with people, then it'll all work out for everybody. So. No. Yes. ... Thank you. Yeah, so like when we get into the underground lab, we'll have this procedure for creating these puddles far more defined. We can use all these techniques to be hopefully just be able to hammer through the flooded region of the underground lab in far less time than it took us to figure out how to do it in the first place, which is always the case. It was like that with the rooftops. I spent 2 hours creating a rooftop, and then once I did it, I was able to create the rest of it in about in an hour. So the process of discovery takes a while, and it can't be shortcutted, like, because you're trying to learn techniques, you're trying to learn like how to procedurally generate consistent looking content. So you have to build there has to be a process. You have to develop the process, which is part of your art style process. Like that's what helps define your art style, is the word I was trying to use. Your process is part of your style. So as you discover better processes, it further refines your style. And again, style, I define style as how you compensate for your inability to produce photorealistic work. Stylization is a simplification process. All cartoons are stylized characters. You're creating a consistent in-world language to express objects and creatures that replicates, and if it's an aesthetically pleasing style, it grows in popularity. If it's an easy process to produce, then it can be added to more work more quickly. So, but again, that is your style that you are developing specifically. And photorealism isn't always the goal. Depending on what the project is, you don't want it. What the aesthetics that you want, you don't want it. But it is ultimately, you're stylizing the reality that you're attempting to depict. And if it is not photorealistic, then you are implementing a style of some sort, which is, when you're aware of it, it's a strength. When you're not aware of it, it's a crutch. Like, if you never draw characters with feet, then you're pretty much showing everybody you don't know how to do feet. And if you do feet poorly, it means that you haven't figured out how to create realistic feet yet. And you are leaning on your style as a symbol. It's not an illustration, it's a symbol of what you want feet to be, but you don't have a better means of presenting that symbol. If that makes sense. Maybe it does. Almost done with my day. We got like 10 minutes left. Yeesh, my timer only has 5. So yeah, I'm down to the super grittiest of the day. But you can see like how much cleaner this is now. And then I can come in with those gradients. Now I was cleaning this up because of how sloppy it looked. But we're getting to the point where it's clean enough that it doesn't look sloppy anymore. And then we'll clean this up. We'll clean that up. all of this is done, I am perfectly content. I'm going to fix that. Yeah, I'm really happy with this. Pretty much like from here over. Now all I gotta do is just clean up this strip here, and then we can just add in a little bit of fresh gradient, and then we'll be able to move on to the next puddle. So we got like, yeah, maybe at this point like maybe 4 hours of work. I'll do it off stream. I have opportunities that crop up over the week where I'm not on stream where I can get things done like this, so I will. But yeah, next time we stream Eberron, it will be the underground map, the underground fort. We'll start cleaning up the line art, and then we will dive into colorizing, starting with the water, moving into the plague mist region, and then finishing up with the clean air region. Clean up. Go here. Monday. We do 3 things on Monday. We have our morning coffee. That's it for the day, guys. We have our morning coffee stream, which is 6 a.m. till 8 a.m. Pacific time, or 9 till 11 East. And that will be Eberron. That's going to be Spelljammer this week. We have our Monday lunch stream, where we will continue with Martial Powers Mondays, creating martial mechanics using mana systems, which we've been developing pretty much from scratch. We had the initial concept built out, and once I was able to acknowledge that it was going to work, just the basic mechanics of it work, then we started streaming all of its development. So that has been an ongoing mechanical development stream where we're going just with raw text and fleshing it out to the point where we can hand it off to an editor. That is getting crazy close. I'm going to hand that off to an editor when I am done with either the Eberron book or the Spelljammer book, whichever one is first. By then, the mechanics, the Martial Powers book, its manuscript will be complete. It's been play tested for the past year. It works well. So I'm excited about that. We're going to continue developing monsters using martial powers on Monday. I think we're going to work on the Beholder. So we're going to give the Beholder basically like legendary actions using instant and aura effects, basically. Like the Beholder isn't bad news enough. We're going to give it more things to do to you. Yes, we're going to give it more things to do to you. But yep, we are in the stream, and then Monday night, either I'll be working with Andy off stream to do the post edit revisions for this Eberron adventure, or if Andy isn't available on Monday night, then I will be working on the Eberron underground laboratory map that I showed at the beginning of the stream. That will, since this is the last day, this is the last few moments that we'll be working on this particular map live on stream. This is its final farewell, adieu. This will be in the zip file of the Crystals of Mabar adventure once it publishes. It'll be part of the asset folder, the asset zip file that I attach to most of my work. Most of my projects have mechanical design things for DMs and players to use as alternate subsystems, and a lot of the times these things benefit from having tokens or different types of assets to make it easier for players to engage with it, or to provide some sort of like mana tokens is something that characters can manipulate to easily eyeball what kind of mana supply that they have right now. Instead of just like listing it, you have like a stack of mana, so you can take mana off of your stack and then apply it to something that you're maintaining concentration on, or an instant effect that you want to throw at somebody, or to boost the results of an ability check that you make. Whatever it is that you're going to do with it, that's what they're for. So we provide all these different types of assets, which we include in the zip folders that we provide when people make a purchase, so you can learn about the mechanics and make it easy to use by buying it. If you look at my stuff and you're at a point like it's like, yeah, actually I think I'd like to have those assets so I can maybe use this, then obviously you should purchase it so you can get the assets. That's a really good rule of thumb. Anyway, today is done. So I'm going to hit save here. We're going to pan out. I will continue. God, look at this. This is almost done. We're going to add some gradients to that. We're going to clean up this puddle a little bit. We're going to do the same thing with this puddle. So considering that those two puddles are roughly the same area as this, we did this work in about 40 minutes. So I suspect we'll be able to do the same for these in about 2 hours. And then maybe an hour, maybe 3 hours between the three of these things and working on gradients, so they have the same sort of feeling as these do, that all this different type of, yeah, gradient is the right word. Anyway, hey guys, I'm done for the day, and that means I'm done for the weekend. I'll be back Monday morning, and then at Monday lunch, and then maybe Monday night, maybe Thursday night, maybe both. And then I'll be here every morning, Monday through Saturday next week as well. So thanks a lot for hanging out, guys. Like, subscribe, check out my books down below. Follow me on Twitter at Phil Kearney, and if you know where to find me on Discord, be welcome to drop me a ping and say hey. So we'll be playtesting more stuff in the future. If you like the kind of stuff that I do, if you like the things that you see, let me know. I'll be looking for playtesters in a few months, maybe more. I'm not sure. As soon as the next thing is ready, we'll be playtesting it. So I'll catch up with you guys then. Later.